What's something you deeply regret not doing? Senior year, I was completely head over heels for Sarah. She was transferring schools right before graduation, and everyone knew it. We spent hours talking on the phone, late nights texting. The last day she was there, we said goodbye in the hall. She hugged me tight, almost too long, and whispered in my ear, "I wish you'd said something sooner." I just froze, a stupid smile on my face, my throat dry. Never saw her again. That something echoes in my head constantly. What if? Back in '98, I had an offer to join a tiny startup. They were building some kind of search engine. The pay was terrible, benefits non-existent, and my parents thought it was a scam. I had a stable government job, so I laughed it off and declined. Who needs another website? I thought foolishly. That startup was Google. Every single day, I regret not taking that leap of faith and enduring the ramen diet. Every single day. My grandfather was in the hospital, his last few days slipping away. I was supposed to visit, drive the 3 hours. But work was absolutely crazy. I was bone tired and foolishly convinced myself one more day wouldn't hurt. He'll be there tomorrow, I rationalized, ignoring the pit in my stomach. That night the call came. He passed peacefully in his sleep, just hours after I chose work over family. I never got to tell him goodbye, never got to hold his hand one last time. That guilt is a constant companion. Before college, my best friend suggested backpacking through Southeast Asia. We had saved some money, vaguely planned routes. But my parents freaked out about safety, about me wasting a year. I gave in, started college right away, played it safe. He went anyway, sent postcards from Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, detailing wild adventures. He had the time of his life. I spent that year in intro lectures wondering. I still haven't been. That sense of missed adventure stings. My first corporate job, I saw my boss completely verbally tear down a junior colleague. It was uncalled for, unprofessional, and everyone in the meeting room was stunned silent. I felt my face flush, a strong urge to intervene, to say something about respect or basic human decency. But I was new, scared of making waves. I stayed silent. He got fired a month later. I regret not having the courage to stand up for him when he needed it most. It still gnaws at me. About 15 years ago, my buddy was raving about Bitcoin. He was buying it, explaining it like it was some revolutionary new currency. I was working retail, barely making ends meet, and thought it sounded like a pyramid scheme. He told me to just put $50 in. What's the worst that could happen? I didn't. I laughed at him, probably called him an idiot. He's now retired, sailing the Mediterranean. My $50 would probably be a private island today. The regret is physical. When I was a kid, my grandma tried to teach me piano. She was a concert pianist in her youth, had a beautiful grand piano. I hated practicing, wanted to be outside playing video games. I complained, fake stomach aches, anything to get out of it. Eventually, she just stopped asking, her lessons becoming fewer until they stopped completely. She passed a few years ago. Now all I want to do is to sit down at a piano and play something for her. The silence of not knowing how is deafening. Our old dog, Buster, was getting really sick towards the end. He wasn't eating much, just lay by the fire, struggling. My parents told me to say goodbye properly before I left for college that morning. I was running late, rushing, gave him a quick pat on the head, said, "See you later, boy," and bolted out the door, thinking I'd be back that weekend. Got the call that evening. He was gone. I regret not staying, not giving him the long hug and proper goodbye he deserved. That quick pat feels like a betrayal. My high school art teacher was incredible. She pushed me, believed in me, and even got me a scholarship application for a prestigious art institute. I had all the forms filled out, my portfolio was ready, but at the last minute I chickened out. My parents, practical people, gently steered me towards a safer business degree. I graduated, got a corporate job, and it's fine. But every time I walk past a gallery or see an artist's vibrant work, I feel a pang. I often wonder what my life would have looked like if I just mailed that envelope. It was the last time I saw my dad, actually saw him awake and lucid. He was in the hospital, recovering for what seemed like a minor procedure. And for some reason, I just said, "See you later," instead of "I love you." There was no real reason, no awkwardness, just a habit of casual farewells. He went downhill unexpectedly that night and never woke up. That simple, powerful phrase that was always there suddenly wasn't. The regret still hits me, sharp and sudden, even years later. I spent a year studying abroad in Germany during college. My host family was incredibly patient, trying to teach me basic phrases, but I leaned heavily on English, thinking I'd pick it up naturally. There were so many moments I couldn't fully participate in conversations, jokes, or even arguments among locals. I just smiled and nodded. Looking back, not committing to learning the language properly was such a waste. It was a barrier I actively chose, and it kept me from truly immersing myself in their culture. Still kicks me sometimes. Mid-2000s, my eccentric uncle, who dabbled in obscure tech, was obsessed with a little device that mined some digital currency on your home computer. He offered to set one up for me, explained how it worked, even bought me the components. I scoffed, called it a scam, and told him to waste his own money. You can probably guess the rest. He's now living on a private island somewhere. I still have to call my bank to dispute random charges. Yeah, Bitcoin. My younger sister was going through a really rough time in high school, getting bullied relentlessly. One afternoon, she came home in tears, talking about transferring schools. I was older, already in college, and instead of truly listening and backing her up, I gave her some generic tough-it-out advice. I regret not calling her school, not raising hell, not standing up for her more aggressively. She eventually did transfer, but the damage was done. I should have been her fiercest advocate. A few years back, I started getting these random, tiny muscle twitches in my eyelid. Annoying, but harmless, right? I Googled it, saw stress, caffeine, and ignored it. Then it spread to my arm, then my leg, very subtle at first. I kept putting off seeing a doctor, convinced it was nothing. By the time I finally went, after about 6 months, it wasn't just twitches. Turns out, early diagnosis could have significantly slowed the progression of my Parkinson's. That simple procrastination cost me precious time. My childhood best friend, Mark, and I had a falling out in our early 20s. A stupid misunderstanding over a shared living arrangement and a girl. We both stubborn, both waited for the other to apologize. Months turned into a year, then 5. I saw updates on social media, thought about reaching out so many times, wrote half a dozen messages I never sent. Then I heard through a mutual acquaintance that he'd been killed in a car accident. He had a family, a whole life. That silence is a gaping wound. My grandma made the best apple pie. Every Sunday, for years, she'd set an extra slice out for my grandpa, even after he passed away, just out of habit. One day, I told her she didn't have to anymore, that he was gone. She should enjoy the whole pie herself. It wasn't meant to be mean, just practical. She looked so sad and never did it again. I regret taking that tiny, harmless ritual away from her. It was her way of keeping him close, and I carelessly dismissed it. Back in college, my girlfriend and I had a chance to work on a research vessel off the coast of Norway for a summer. The pay wasn't great, but the experience would have been incredible. We agonized over it, worried about missing family events, costs, final exams. We decided against it, figuring we'd go later when we had more money and time. She's long since an ex, and I've never had another opportunity remotely close to seeing the northern lights from a ship in the Arctic Circle. Still stings knowing I passed up a literal once-in-a-lifetime Aurora show. My big break came a decade ago. A tech startup in Berlin offered me a director role, triple my salary, with full relocation. I was ecstatic. My family, however, was terrified. Too far, too risky, what about grandma? After weeks of intense pressure and self-doubt, I turned it down, accepting a safe, stagnant promotion at my current company instead. That Berlin startup went public 2 years later, making its early directors multimillionaires. I still look at their stock ticker and curse myself for not having the courage to trust my gut. Comfort costs. During my sophomore year of college, I met this girl in a philosophy class. She was brilliant, hilarious, and had this amazing laugh. I spent an entire semester making excuses to talk to her, walking her to her dorm, imagining a future. But I was pathologically shy, paralyzed by fear of rejection. I never actually told her how I felt. She graduated a semester early, moved across the country, and we lost touch. Every now and then, I wonder what could have been if I just found the courage to say, hey, I really like you. For years, I dealt with crippling anxiety. It felt like a constant knot in my stomach, turning every minor decision into an existential crisis. Friends suggested therapy, but I brushed it off. I can handle it. I'd say it's just stress. I spent a decade white-knuckling through life, pushing people away, missing out on so much. When I finally hit rock bottom and sought professional help, it was like someone turned on a light switch. The regret isn't about going. It's about all those wasted years suffering alone. I could have had my life back so much sooner. My older brother practically begged me to go in with him on a duplex downtown in 2012. It was a fixer-upper, cheap, but in a questionable neighborhood. I laughed him off. That area is a dump. We'll lose money. He bought himself. Fast forward to today, that dump is the trendiest part of the city, and his duplex is worth almost $1 million. He sold it last year and bought his dream house outright. I'm still renting and kicking myself. Should have trusted his gut, not my skepticism. It still hurts. My maternal grandparents were immigrants speaking fluent Italian at home. As a kid, I saw it as their secret code, something they used to talk about me without me knowing. I had no interest in learning, even when they patiently tried to teach me phrases. I just wanted to be American. They're both gone now, and I regret it immensely. Their stories, their jokes, their whole lives had a richer context in their native tongue. Now I feel a cultural void, trying to pick up scraps, knowing I miss my best teachers. There was this manager, absolute tyrant, notorious for publicly humiliating his direct reports. One day, he went particularly hard on Sarah, a new junior designer, over a minor mistake. She was visibly shaken, almost in tears. I was right there, saw the whole thing. And I did nothing. I froze, stayed silent, pretending to be busy. Sarah quit a month later. That manager eventually got what was coming to him, but the shame of not speaking up for Sarah, of letting that happen, still gnaws at me. I was a coward. My best friends organized this epic road trip to Banff for a week of snowboarding after graduation. It was going to be our last big hurrah before adulting. I had a casual part-time job lined up the week after and convinced myself I couldn't miss out on the money. So I bailed. They went, had the time of their lives, created these legendary inside jokes I'm still not privy to. That job lasted 2 months. The friendships and memories from that trip, priceless. I still feel like I missed a pivotal chapter. I always wished I'd learned to play the guitar seriously. When I was younger, I picked up bits and pieces but never committed. Years later, my teenage son decided to learn, and he'd often ask me to sit and jam with him. I'd try, but my aging fingers were stiff and my knowledge was too shallow. He quickly surpassed me. I deeply regret not mastering it when I had the time and dexterity. It would have been an incredible way to bond, a shared passion I just couldn't keep up with. Right out of high school, I had an offer for a design internship at a small, unknown studio. It sounded fun, but my parents, bless their hearts, insisted I get a proper degree. So I went to business school. Fast forward 10 years, that little studio, it's now a globally recognized agency, working with brands I only dream of. The lead designer who offered me that internship is an industry icon. I'm stuck in middle management, staring at spreadsheets. That simple choice still burns. My closest friend, Sarah, was trapped in a deeply toxic relationship for years. Everyone saw it, the gaslighting, the control, the emotional abuse. I tried to talk to her, gently, but never pushed hard enough. I was afraid of alienating her, of making things worse. I regret not grabbing her by the shoulders and screaming, "Get out," until she listened. She lost 5 precious years of her life. The guilt of my inaction, of being a silent witness, still haunts me daily. Backpacking South America was my gap year dream. Had the savings, itinerary, even a travel buddy. But my dad got mildly sick, making me feel guilty about leaving. I deferred, then got a job. The window closed. Now, watching travel documentaries, seeing friends post their adventures, it's a bitter pill. I missed my one shot at seeing the world unburdened. That backpack still sits in my closet, a constant reminder of the adventure I never took. I had a collection of short stories, polished and almost ready for submission to a small literary press. I procrastinated, told myself I wasn't good enough, that writing was a silly hobby. Focused on my stable career instead. About a year later, that exact press published a collection from another debut author with a remarkably similar theme and tone to mine. Reading the reviews felt like a punch to the gut. The regret of not sending it, of letting insecurity win, is a constant phantom limb. There was this girl in high school, Emily. We were inseparable, spent every lunch together, talked for hours on the phone, knew each other's deepest secrets. It was clearly more than friendship for both of us, but I was too young and terrified to say anything. Too scared to risk the friendship, too scared of rejection. She moved away for college, we drifted apart, and that connection faded. To this day, the regret of never just telling her how I felt, of never taking that chance, aches fiercely.